All right, let's dive in. Today we're going deep on something pretty interesting, I think. The Temperance card
Oh, yeah.
from the tarot. And we're connecting it to this idea of water alchemy.
Okay.
Now, don't worry, we're not talking about, giving something up for Lent or anything like that.
Right.
This is temperance as a concept of harmony
Mm.
and balance.
Uh-huh.
And we've got some really cool excerpts from a text that really gets into this whole thing.
Okay.
So get ready. We're going to be talking about angels and blending rituals,
Right.
and even a little bit of cosmic energy, all that good stuff. So
I love it.
yeah. I'm really fascinated by this whole concept.
Yeah, temperance is one of those things. It sounds so simple when you first hear about it,
Right.
but the deeper you get, the more you realize it's there.
Yeah. Like I always kind of associated alchemy with turning lead into gold.
Mm,
But this water alchemy, it seems a lot more, I don't know, fluid, I guess.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really all about using water as a way to kind of transform yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about physical stuff. It's about using the way water is and using that to grow spiritually. And
So it's like alchemy for your soul.
yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Okay, so let's start with that temperance card.
Okay.
You know, the imagery is always so striking, right? There's like this angel,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pouring water between two cups,
Right.
and they've got like one foot on the ground and one foot in the water. Like, what's all that about?
Well, there's a lot packed into that image. Those two cups, for example,
Okay.
they represent like opposite things coming together.
Right.
So maybe that's like logic and emotion,
Hmm.
or your spiritual side and your day-to-day practical side,
Okay.
and the water flowing between them. It's all about finding a way for those two sides to get along.
So it's like finding that harmony
Yeah.
between all the different parts of yourself, and that angel's like the guide leading the way. Okay, that's a really powerful visual. But how do you actually bring that into everyday life? I mean, it's not like most of us have angels and golden cups just hanging around.
True, but the idea is that we all have those different parts of ourselves,
Right.
and we can all find a way to get them to work together.
Okay.
It's like in chemistry. Sometimes when you mix two totally different things,
Yeah.
you get something totally new.
Oh, interesting. So instead of thinking of those different parts of ourselves as like fighting each other,
Mm-hmm.
we can think of them as like ingredients in a recipe.
Yeah,
Like you blend them together
right.
and you make something delicious.
Exactly. And
Mhm.
when you find that balance, that's when you become, whole.
That makes sense. So where does this water alchemy come in? It's like using the way water is to help us find that balance.
Yeah, exactly. Think about water. I mean, it can fit into any space. It can go around anything.
Right.
It always finds its own level,
Mhm.
always moving and changing, but it can also change the world around it slowly over time.
Wow. Okay, so how do you actually do water alchemy? Do I need like a lab and a pointy hat?
Oh, no, it's not. It's not like that at all. It's more about being intentional, being mindful.
Okay.
The text talks about a few different ways to do it. One's called the blending ritual,
Okay.
and that's where you mix different things in with the water, like herbs or oils,
Mm-hmm.
while you're focusing on this idea of creating harmony.
So you're not like trying to turn water into wine or anything. You're using the water as a way to focus your energy.
Yeah, it's like a way to actually do something when you're
Mhm.
thinking about that balance you want.
So like a physical way to interact with that idea.
Exactly. And you can get really creative with it.
Yeah.
Like lavender, for example, is supposed to be calming.
Right.
And then rosemary is supposed to be good for clarity.
Mm-hmm.
So you could mix those with water
Yeah.
as a way to bring those things into your life.
That's so cool. So it's not just about like physically mixing stuff up.
Right.
It's about like the intention behind it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about being mindful and setting your intention and using the water as a way to focus all that.
I like that. So what are some of the other ways to do this water alchemy thing?
Well, there's one called the harmonic flow practice, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
You basically pour water back and forth
Okay.
between two containers. And while you're doing that, you think about all the different forces in your life,
Mm-hmm.
all the things that, seem like they're pulling you in opposite directions.
Yeah.
And it's like a moving medication.
Mm.
You see the water going back and forth and you think about how those forces are always interacting.
That's a great image. It's like those little desktop fountains
Right.
where the water's always flowing.
Yeah.
It's calming,
Hmm.
but it also reminds you that, things are always changing.
Right, exactly. It's like everything's always moving. But underneath it all, there's this balance.
It's like life itself,
Right.
right? There's ups and downs and
Yeah.
challenges and good times.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can find that balance,
Yeah.
you can ride the waves, so to speak.
Exactly. And that's really what the Temperance card's all about. It's saying that you can find that calm place inside yourself,
Okay.
even when everything around you is chaotic.
So we've talked about blending and flowing. What else is there?
Well, there's another one called the integration meditation.
Okay.
And for this one, you visualize water um, bridging the gaps between different parts of yourself.
Yeah.
Like all those parts that feel like they're fighting each other.
Right, right. Like, the part of me that wants to be really responsible and the part of me that just wants to like drop everything and go on an adventure.
Exactly. And this meditation is about realizing that those parts can actually work together.
Oh, wow.
It's like saying, hey, you don't have to fight all the time. Maybe you can cooperate.
That's a pretty powerful concept.
It is. It's about accepting all those different sides of yourself
Mm-hmm.
and realizing that they all have a place.
Yeah.
It's like creating a little ecosystem inside yourself
Mm.
where everything can work together.
Okay, I'm really starting to see how water alchemy takes these really big ideas
Yeah.
and makes them something you can actually work with.
Yeah.
It's like it gives you the tools to actually do something with them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it all goes back to that Temperance card, right?
Yeah.
The angel, the water flowing.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about that same idea.
It's like the card's the map,
Yeah.
and water alchemy is how you travel.
I like that.
Okay, but before we go too far,
Mm-hmm.
there's something we touched on earlier that I want to dig into a little more.
Okay.
It's this whole cosmic connection.
Yeah.
Like, how does temperance relate to the universe, to the big picture?
Ooh, that's where it gets really interesting. It's not just about, finding balance in your own life.
Right.
Temperance is also connected to the way the whole universe works. It's like there's this cosmic dance
Okay.
where all these different forces come together
Mm-hmm.
and they create something new and beautiful.
Hold on. I think we need to pause here for a second
Okay.
and let our listeners catch their breath.
Sure.
Because we've covered a lot of ground already. And when we come back, we're going to dive even deeper into that cosmic connection
I'm good.
and talk about how all these, kind of mystical ideas
Yeah.
can actually help us in our everyday lives.
Wait.
Stay with us. Okay, so we're back and we're ready to talk about this cosmic connection with temperance.
Right.
Before the break we were talking about how it's not just about, finding balance in our own little lives, but it's connected to this much bigger idea of how the universe works.
Yeah, it's a big idea,
Huh.
but it kind of makes sense when you think about it. Everything in the universe, like from the smallest atom
Right.
to, a whole galaxy, it's all trying to find some kind of balance, right?
Yeah.
There's always these forces pushing and pulling, expanding and contracting.
Mm-hmm.
Things are being created, things are being destroyed,
Right.
light, darkness, it's all part of it. And temperance is saying that it's not just random chaos.
Okay.
There's this underlying harmony to it all.
Okay. Yeah, I'm starting to get it. So it's like it's not just me trying to find balance in my own life.
Right.
It's like reflecting this bigger principle
Definitely.
that's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
But how does that actually help me? Like if I'm having a stressful day at work
Mm-hmm.
or I'm having a fight with my partner.
Well, that's the cool thing. When you understand that bigger picture,
Okay.
it can change the way you see your own problems.
Mm-hmm.
It's like instead of feeling like you're constantly fighting against chaos,
Right.
you realize that you're part of this bigger flow, this rhythm of push and pull that's happening all the time.
So it's like instead of getting stressed out about every little thing, you can zoom out a little bit
Yeah.
and see that it's all part of a bigger process.
Exactly. It's not about denying the challenges. It's about, finding that peace inside yourself even when things are tough.
That makes sense. But you said that water alchemy can help us connect with this cosmic flow. How does that work?
Well, remember those water alchemy practices we talked about?
Yeah.
They're not just about, personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
They can also be a way to align ourselves with the way the universe works.
Okay.
Like the blending ritual, for example,
Mhm.
where you mix different things into the water.
Yeah.
That can be a metaphor for how we interact with the world.
So instead of trying to force things to go my way all the time or getting upset when things change, I can try to be more flexible, more adaptable.
Exactly. It's about finding that middle ground where you're working with the forces around you instead of against them.
I like that. So like if I'm having a disagreement with someone, instead of just trying to be right, I can try to understand their point of view and maybe find a solution that works for both of us.
Exactly. You're thinking like a water alchemist now.
I am. All right.
And then there's the harmonic flow practice.
Oh, yeah, the pouring water back and forth.
Right. That one's a good reminder that balance isn't about staying perfectly still.
Okay.
It's about finding that flow, even when things are changing around you.
So it's like when things get crazy in my life,
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine myself pouring that water back and forth.
Yeah, and trying to find that rhythm.
Getting steady rhythm.
Yeah, exactly. It's about finding that center inside yourself,
Mm-hmm.
that place of calm.
That makes sense. And what about the integration meditation?
Oh, yeah, the one where you're visualizing water connecting different parts of yourself.
Right, right. Like all those parts that feel like they're fighting each other.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that one's also connected to a cosmic principle.
Okay.
It's the idea that even things that seem opposite
Mm-hmm.
are actually part of one big whole.
So instead of seeing conflict as a bad thing,
Right.
I can see it as an opportunity to bring those different sides together and
Yeah.
maybe create something new.
Exactly. It's like the yin and yang symbol. You know, you can't have one without the other.
Right.
They both need each other to create wholeness.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. But
Okay.
there was one more practice we talked about, the flowing meditation.
Oh, yeah, that one's a good one.
How does that fit in with all this cosmic stuff?
Well, it's all about water's resilience, you know.
Okay.
Think about it. Water can carve its way through rock.
Right.
It flows over waterfalls.
Mm-hmm.
It can fit into any container.
Yeah.
But it always stays water, you know. It changes, it adapts,
Right.
but it never loses its essential nature.
So if I'm facing a challenge, a big obstacle,
Mm-hmm.
I can visualize myself like water flowing around it, finding a new way forward.
Exactly. It's about being flexible, being adaptable, being persistent, just like water.
I love that. This is all so insightful. I feel like I'm seeing temperance and water alchemy and this whole cosmic connection in a totally new way.
That's great.
But I think we need to give our listeners a minute to process all this.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
When we come back, we'll talk about how to actually put all this wisdom into practice in our everyday lives.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to the show. All right, so we've been talking about temperance and water alchemy and how it all connects to this bigger cosmic flow. But how do we actually use this stuff in our everyday lives? You know, how does this actually help us?
Well, it's about bringing that awareness of flow and balance into everything you do,
Okay.
every decision, every interaction. You know, like imagine you're at work
Mm-hmm.
and things are getting really stressful.
Yeah.
Instead of tensing up and getting all stressed out, can you pause for a second, take a breath,
Okay.
and try to approach the situation with a little bit more of that water-like fluidity?
So instead of getting swept away by the stress,
I could try to find my own center, like a rock in a stream.
exactly. You're not ignoring the stress, but you're choosing how you're going to respond to it.
Okay.
And that's where temperance really comes in.
Yeah.
It's not just an idea, it's a way of being in the world.
So it's like a muscle you have to build.
Yeah, exactly. The more you practice bringing that temperance energy into your life, the stronger it gets.
That makes sense. And the water alchemy practice can help with that.
Absolutely. They're like exercises for that muscle, you know?
Hook.
Like think about the blending ritual.
Yeah.
How could you use that in a situation where you're feeling, I don't know, stuck or like you're pulled in two different directions?
That's a good question. I guess instead of seeing things as black and white, right or wrong,
Yeah.
I could try to see the nuances, the gray areas.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm disagreeing with someone,
Right.
instead of focusing on who's right,
Yeah.
I can try to understand their perspective.
And see if there's a way to blend our viewpoints, find some common ground.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, you're getting it. You're thinking like a water alchemist.
I am. All right.
What about the harmonic flow practice? The pouring water back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that could be a good reminder to keep my communication flowing, you know?
Okay.
Like to not overreact or shut down,
Right.
but to find that balance between expressing myself
Mm-hmm.
and listening to the other person.
Exactly. It's all about finding that smooth flow of energy, even when it's tough.
That makes sense. And what about that flowing meditation where we were talking about how water, navigates around obstacles?
Oh, yeah, that's a powerful one. What do you think the takeaway from that is, like for dealing with challenges in your own life?
I guess it's like a reminder that obstacles are going to happen, that they're just part of life, like rocks in a river.
Right.
And instead of getting stuck or giving up,
Yeah.
I can try to be more like water, adapting, flowing around those obstacles, finding a new path.
Exactly. That's what temperance is all about.
Yeah.
It's about resilience. It's about adaptability.
Wow. This has been so eye-opening. I feel like I'm seeing temperance everywhere now. It's not just in the tarot anymore. It's like it's in nature, it's in relationships, it's in how we deal with our own emotions.
It is, isn't it? And
Yeah.
remember, it's a journey. It's ongoing.
Yeah.
It's not about being perfectly balanced all the time.
Right.
It's about always striving for that harmony
Okay.
inside yourself and in the world around you.
So, to all our listeners out there, we encourage you to take this wisdom of temperance and water alchemy and really think about it. Look at how water flows, how it adapts, how resilient it is,
Yeah.
and ask yourselves, how can I bring those qualities into my own life?
Hmm.
How can I find that balance, even when things are changing all around me?
Keep exploring, keep flowing, keep looking for that beautiful balance that's all around you.
That's great advice. And on that note, we're going to wrap things up for today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.